Hey beautiful, defining moments are pockets in time that give you clues of your purpose. Today we will hear a story about war, displacement, life as a refugee, and immigrating to a new country. Liberian-born Mehntay Ngwayah gives us an exclusive and intimate look into her life as a refugee and how she came to embody her mantra, be strong. You are listening to the Africana Woman podcast. I'm your host, Chulu. Every week I ask an Africana woman to invite us into her home to give us a snapshot into what happens behind her closed doors. I hope you will join me on this journey of discovery, revelation, and self-awareness. I'm not going to lie, it may become uncomfortable sometimes. However, I encourage you to push past your unease and challenge yourself to think differently. The simple act of expanding yourself to receive the unknown may be transformational for you. So many times people ask, what is my purpose? How do I know what is my purpose? The best way to discover what your purpose is to look back through your life and reflect on your defining moments. That will give you clues as to what you are called to do, why you have the heart and empathy to do what you do, and why you do it in a particular way that is unique to you. Please open your hearts to this powerful story told by Mehntay Ngwayah. You may want to have some tissues on standby. Here goes. All right, welcome to the Africana Woman Mic. Today we are talking to Mehntay Ngwayah, and she is a registered nurse. She's also an entrepreneur. She has a cleaning business that was especially created to employ women of immigrant background. She is based in Australia, but you know what? I'm not going to tell you too much about Mehntay. We are going to have a fantastic conversation today. And I'm just very, very excited and honored that she has chosen the Africana Woman podcast to be the first place where her interview is and where she's telling her story. So this is exclusive, guys. This is huge. So Mehntay is from Liberia. And you know what, girl, sis, welcome to the Africana Woman podcast. I'm very excited that you're here, and thank you for taking time to be here.
Thank you so much for having me, Cholo. I'm so grateful to you for being the one to get me to tell this story for everyone to hear. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, let's get started. Now, I already told the audience that you're from Liberia, but you know what? Tell us a little bit more about you. Where does your story begin?
Oh, my goodness. So I'm Mehntay. I am from Liberia, West Africa, which is a little country along the Atlantic. And I currently live in Australia, Melbourne to be specific, and I've been here for the last 15 years. And I was born and raised in Liberia partly. Right now, I'm a registered nurse in Australia, and part of my job in Australia, I've been a nurse for about 10 years, and part of that nursing job is mentoring student and novice nurses. But then also what people don't know that I do on the side is my cleaning business, which was born purely out of the need to just mentor and employ immigrant women. And people say, why immigrant women? Because I was once an immigrant myself, and I know what it's like to come to another country. And when I say come to another country, I know other people migrate for reasons like I want a better life, or I think my kids will go to a better school or something like that. But when you're migrating because of war and just running away to the next best place, that can be difficult. And that's how I found myself in Australia. but there's a long story in between people getting to Australia.
Okay, so I think could you give us some historical context for people that are not quite aware of, what was happening in Liberia at the time that, your family decided they had to leave?
So, born in Liberia, both parents work. I know when people hear about Africa, they just think, oh yeah, the lions and the tigers and everyone's barefoot. Kids don't have food to eat. There's no running water and electricity. But that was not the case. I was born in Monrovia, the capital, and my both parents work as bankers. So we were fortunate enough to have a home with running water and a shower. And me and my siblings went to private school. We had people come and cook and clean and look after us, and we had tutor, someone driving us to school. I even ended up in a boarding school at one point. And Liberia, as I knew it growing up, it was just one of the best countries. We had people coming from all over the world to come to Liberia to learn, what I got to know later from my parents, that Liberia was one of the most peaceful countries in the world. And it was actually going to be crowned or something by UN as one of the peaceful countries in the world. And then when I was 7, 8, we just woke up one morning. But before that morning, I had left boarding school because the country had become unstable. There were rebels had entered the country and they were advancing to the capital really, really quickly. And we just got told you have to pack up because parents got scared and they just came and took their kids home. So we were in that sort of fear environment, but not knowing exactly what was going to happen. And then early that morning, we just heard and that was guns, because our parents told us we got everything inside. Apparently it's going to be for a short time. So we got food, we got everything we can survive. But then people were running everywhere and people were knocking on the door, our neighbors, we're leaving now and we don't want to leave anyone behind. So we all have to go. And we just jumped out of the house with pajamas, nothing, just pajamas. And our parents tried to tell us that it's only going to be for a week. We're going to be back. Don't worry. We never came back. And that was since 1990. We ended up running away from Liberia, walking through the bushes.
Yeah, could I just to understand, what is your family composition like?
So I'm from a big family. But my immediate family is mom and dad. I've got twin sisters and I've got 3 brothers.
Okay. So were they all born by that time?
My last brother wasn't born at that time. Yeah.
So you said twin, that's 3 plus, so 5 children.
Yes.
Plus your parents, jumped out of your house in pajamas and started running. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and we just jumped out of the house and we left. And just ran for the bushes and just followed it was a big crowd. It was a huge crowd. Everyone just walking down the road. Pretty much. That's all I can remember. And we just kept walking and we ended up no clothes, no food, pajamas, wherever we would stop. People that would live in that area would have a little veggie patch or whatever, and mom would just find whatever and we'll just eat as we go. And I don't think we really got hungry. I can't remember getting hungry because I think it was just shock. So we just survived that way. And we ended up living in not even one, but two different countries as refugees. And in the second, so the first country was in Ivory Coast, and that's where I partly grew up, went to high school and all that. And then while living in Ivory Coast, we didn't have to live in a refugee camp. We had to rent homes to live in. And again, Mom was at that point, our dad had gone missing. So what happens during a war is the men, especially when you had a good job or something, you get targeted, and the rebels feel that you guys had all the money and you are the cause of the problem and stuff like that. That's what I got told anyway as a child. So Dad had to go a separate route from us, because if you stayed with your family and you're going to get killed, your whole family gets killed. Mm-hmm. So I had to make that sacrifice to move on and leave us.
Yeah, I'm going to take you back. How long did you walk? Because you said that you were just walking in a group. So How long were you walking?
So it wasn't like you just walk and get to where you're going. Mm. So it took a long time. I cannot remember how long, but before we got to Ivory Coast, like from walking through the bushes, I think it was already like 2-3 years. It was just, and you go and you'll stop and you think that everything is going to be okay, but no, that place will get attacked. And then you leave that place and then move to another place. So the decision wasn't just go to this country. It was like go to the next best safe place and then move on to the next and then move on to the next. Like just living day to day, hour to hour, seeing people getting killed, seeing people getting murdered, seeing people getting missing from their families, seeing families crying, oh, this person just went missing today. It's just, yeah.
I'm trying to wrap my mind around this because, when you started the story, you said that, your parents told you, oh, this is going to take 2 weeks. And then...
a week. It was going to take
a week, right? This is going to take a week.
And everything will be settled. All these bad guys will be gone. We'll come back.
Mm-hmm. And then you said that 2 to 3 years before you actually settled in Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast.
That...
Yep.
I'm sorry. I can't wrap my mind around it.
Nah.
So when the first week passed, then had your father already decided to part with you then? Or
no, he stayed with us for a little bit, and then we went to the countryside to where my dad was born in his hometown. We managed to get to there, and then that's when we got separated.
Okay, so that was very early on to those 2 to 3 years.
Yes, it was in the first year.
Yeah. So, what do you remember of your parents telling you about, what's going on? Because first they told you 2 weeks, and then, did they still tell you anything, or?
By the time before we even got to the countryside, it was like, we don't know what's going on anymore. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how long it's going to be. You just need to listen to us. When we say run inside, run. When we say let's go, go. You can't leave your parents in the morning and just go play with other kids in the neighborhood anymore. You can't go to school. You can't have breakfast because you wake up in the morning, oh, Mom, we want breakfast. We can't have breakfast. We just got to have what's available when it's available. So it was just like, Mom was just like, this is it. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happened. And it's just like...
So in your mind as the 7 or 8-year-old... child, what was going through your mind?
to be honest, I grew up, I think I grew up in an environment where we were empowered and told that we could do whatever we wanted to do. And pretty much my life was planned out. I knew where I was going to go to primary school, where I was going to go to high school, and then where I was going to graduate and go to college or university. And I knew I was going to become a doctor. And so I just had that, pumped feeling of, yeah. And then when this happened, that feeling just went down. And I just felt cheated, disempowered, weak. I just felt like fearful all the time. I just felt like, why am I even here? Like those emotions just took over completely. Yeah.
So after in the first year, you got separated from your father, and then you continued to be moving to safe places, safe havens, safe whatever safe it could be defined at that point. Yeah. And then eventually you made your way to Ivory Coast after about 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And your father was still you're not with your father?
No.
Okay. So what happened then? Because, you said that, you were able to go to high school. So did mom get a job? What exactly were the circumstances then? And you said you didn't have to live in a camp.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So when we got to Ivory Coast, some of my mum's family had already gone ahead. So my mum left us at one point with our grandparents, our dad's family, and went to look for our dad. And then mum found our dad, and then she stayed for a little bit because it's like a long travel, because sometimes you go and then you stop and then you go and you stop. So mum came back, and then mum was pregnant, but then she couldn't give birth in that remote area. So she had to go again to look for somewhere to give birth, which was better than where we were. So when she went to give birth where she left us, we had to be separated from both parents because there was fighting in that region, and then that region gets shut off. So the left you stay where you are, and the right stay where they are. So then one of her sisters, she has already gone over to the Ivory Coast with her family, came over to get us. They didn't know where we were, but they heard, because people travel around all the time. So people keep asking, did you see this person? Did you see this person? And if they say, oh, I saw them this place, you'll go check to see if they're there or if they have moved on. So our auntie came and she took us to the Ivory Coast walking. And then mum finally got on, I don't know if it was a boat. She got on a plane. She left Liberia. She went to Guinea on the plane, and then she got on a ship from Guinea and came to Ivory Coast because she had heard that your sister had taken your kids and came to Ivory Coast to look for us. And and she came and she found us in Ivory Coast. So while in Ivory Coast, we had family in America. So when you get to the Ivory Coast, you get registered, you're a refugee, and then they will give you rations and that. So when they give you rice or tin fish or salt or whatever, mum will take half of that stuff, sell it, and keep half. So that half selling was our livelihood. And then she had family overseas, of course. They'll help her sometimes with $50 or whatever. And she'll add to that business whatever she was selling. We've sold everything. Mom would say, everything that we need in this house, we're going to sell. So if we need soap to wash our clothes, we'll sell soap in the community. People buy soap and then we wash our clothes with soap. If we need oil, we'll sell oil in the community. People buy oil and then we have oil to eat. But then we've got money to say whatever we don't have, we can go and buy it. Or we can go and register, like, because we're refugees, so we just pay like a little bit, not as compared to everyone else. And then you can be able to rent a place. And when I say a place, it's like, they call it entre coucher, which is like enter and sleep. So you just walk in and that's it right there. So, yeah. And that's how we just survived and just lived in a community, whatever hand-me-downs people could give us, whatever we could sell. There used to be market days on the Thursday and we'll just go to the market after school and just sell. And we used to make bread. We used to make donuts. We used to make like whatever just to survive.
So where was Dad at this time? Because she had found him and then she got pregnant. And
yes.
Mom, she's fast.
Yes.
But where was Dad at this?
Dad was back in Liberia. So she left Dad, came to find us, and then another war, it would just break up, and then another war just broke up. We just didn't hear from him. And we just stayed in Ivory Coast. And Mom was like, we're just going to stay here. At least we'll be in one place so that if someone tells him we're here, he knows that we're here. Yeah.
So where does the story go from here?
We stayed in Ivory Coast.
How many years were you in Ivory Coast?
We stayed in Ivory Coast until 2003, I want to say. Yeah, I think it was 2003 or 2002. And then there was another rebel war in Ivory Coast as well. So it had followed us from Liberia. Yeah. Same thing. Woke up, at that time, I was a teenager now. Woke up in the morning. We used to go 5 o'clock in the morning for a prayer group because we're Christians. And it was a women's prayer group that I had become a part of. And I had gone that morning with my friend. And while we were praying, we just started hearing sound. And everyone was like, do you hear like? And that familiar sound, I will never forget. That feeling just came back to me and just sat in my throat. And I just felt like, not again. But yeah, that was it. Got up from that prayer room. But for some reason, the strength would just build up in you to just run. And up to this day, I don't know how fast I ran, but I can tell you it was fast. And my friend that I was holding, like, she was fainting. She was giving up. And she's a really big girl. Up to today, she tells me, I don't know how, because I'm skinny, but I used to be really, really skinny. She goes, I don't know how you pulled me. I grabbed her by the hands, ran with her, like pretty much dragging her, went and dropped her off at her house, and then ran over to my house. But when we were leaving Ivory Coast, I was like a bit grown up. So I was like, I'm not going to leave everything behind. I packed a little carry-on bag with like undies and change of clothes and that, and shoes. And I started walking with the group. So by the time I got home, family had already left. So we already knew the drill. We just started going along with whatever crowd and asking people, oh, did you see my family? Did you see my mom? Did you see my sister? And, oh, yeah, we saw them going ahead. Your mom was looking for you, but she knew that you know what to do. So we just followed until we got to one town, and we slept in that town. And in the morning, I woke up and my feet were blisters everywhere. It was just so sore. And I remember begging this Ivorian guy, can I give you my good, like I had a good pair of shoes that I was walking in, and I said, can I just give you these shoes so that you can give me a rubber, those rubber flip-flops, those really soft ones. And that guy handed me his soft rubber flip-flops and took like my runners. But that's the only thing that could comfort my feet at that time. And I just had to wear it. And walking in the bush again, trying to cross, because when you're crossing from one country to another, there's a river and there's no way of crossing. And I remember us getting on this thing, they call it a raft, but it's pretty much planks, like they cut trees and they just slice them in half and they put because I sort of looked at that thing and I went, what? And they put like a barrel under it for wheels, and someone will be on the other end, and they put like a long string and someone who's pulling people over, just trying to get people to cross over. And we got on that thing. My mom had sent my uncle back that morning, and he was like, because I wasn't going to get on that thing to cross that river. But when I saw my uncle come across the river in the morning, I was like, yeah, we're meant to go. So I just went across with my uncle and my friends. And then, we end up in Guinea, where my mom had originally gone before she came to find us. Yep, we ended up in that country. And it's another French-speaking country. They know their language. It's the same as Ivory Coast, French-speaking, don't know the language. But this time in Guinea, they were like, Liberia has had problems. Ivory Coast has had problems because we're all neighboring countries. So Guinea was like, most definitely, we're going to be next. So all the refugees, like now we had become outcasts pretty much, because that the fighting came from Liberia and spilled out into Ivory Coast. So Guinea got afraid and they were like, you're just going to go to a refugee camp. And it was isolated from everywhere, like in the desert. Intense. I don't know if your listeners know what tin. Tin is pretty much like plastic, but durable plastic. And they just put it up. Like when you go camping, it's not those fancy ones. It's just like tarpaulin or whatever they call that material, and they just put it up. And 50 people in one tent, and 50 people in one tent. And you just like, they give you blankets. We used to call the blankets itchy blankets because they just itch your skin, but you had no choice. Just put your blanket down and, just sleep in tent. During the day, it got really, really hot. Can you imagine in a desert, in a tent, and it just got really hot. So we had to go down to the river pretty much and just spend our day at the river. And then at night, it'll get really, really cold. And we just had to live like that.
Sis, are you like me? I literally live by my calendar. If it's not on there, it does not exist, nor does it happen. But quick question, are you on your calendar? I don't mean all the activities that you do for and with others. I mean, do you have a day that is all about you? Not babies, not bae, not work, or anything else that keeps you busy. I'm asking you to be your own bae. So one day a month, Africana Woman will host in-person events in Lusaka that give you permission to practice self-love. This is not just another networking event. Restaurants and cocktails. No, darling. Instead, we're partnering with local businesses to give you unique experiences like paint and sip, a ladies' hike, or a body-positive dance class. Like, you do not want to miss this. So come on then, join us, sign up today, be your own bae. Find the link in the show notes or go to africanawoman.com. Now back to the conversation.
So
How long were you at that particular camp?
We lived in that camp. I came to Australia in 2005, so maybe roughly two and a half to 3 years, 2 to 3 years, I'll say. Yeah.
So tell me about that. So in all of this, okay, so you've made your way to Guinea. You're now in a camp. Is there any way of knowing where Dad is? Did he eventually come and find you?
So in the refugee camp, we started writing letters, and we'll just write a letter and they'll say, ICRC, they call them, international, they're part of the Red Cross or something. Because when you're refugees, you have like Medicine Sans Frontier, you have United Nations, you have all these organizations come on the camp, and they're helping people out, do whatever they do. So that was their job, like to find missing families. So you just write a letter and say, this was the last place that I left this person, and they'll go and see if they can find the person. And we kept writing and writing and writing. And at that point, I think everyone was just like, whatever, we don't know. Other people's family have passed away. Like, you get news, or this person family. But one thing, Mum never, ever thought that Dad died or he wasn't. Yeah, Mum never, ever thought that. She was just like, we are going to find him one day. We are going to find him one day. And yeah. And we just kept writing and just kept living. And then I was fortunate enough in Guinea. It's so funny because I was thinking about my story the other day, and I was like, actually, this Think About Women started a while back, but I just haven't paid attention to it. Or just helping people. Like, I remember when I was in boarding school, I used to bring my friends home during the break. Like, if their parents didn't show up to pick them up, I'd bring them home. They'll spend the time and then go back. And then in Guinea, I was fortunate enough to start working with Save the Children. And I started helping young mums, like teen mums, with their literacy and numeracy skills. And then I started working as a secretarial science teacher, because after I finished high school in Ivory Coast, I went and did typing. At those days, we used to have the typewriters. And I was fortunate enough to start teaching people how to do that in Guinea. So I was getting paid to actually do that, and that was that really helped. Yeah. So the time that you were in Guinea, how old were you? I was 19, 20. 18, 19, 20. Yeah. By the time I got to Australia, I was 21. Yeah.
So at this point, what are you thinking? What was your state of mind in terms of, were you thinking about the future, or was it just day by day? What was your state of mind?
I always, even though I felt all those emotions that I talked about earlier on, like feeling weak and feeling disempowered, I still felt them, but somehow deep down, I just felt like there is a way out of this. And I believe in God, so I just knew that God was just going to do something, and he was just going to make a way. But I still had those feelings like, what is my life going to be like? Some days I'll wake up and I won't even eat. Like, some days I'll just stay in bed and just, what are we doing here? Like, but then funny enough, those times, now I can sit back in hindsight and say they were one of the best times that prepared me for a lot of things in life. Like, I made really good friends from Ivory Coast to Guinea, and we moved on together, and we just stayed together. Like, we would make ourselves feel comfortable, I'll say. Like, we used to have parties. We'll go down to the creek and we'll say we're going to the beach. You know, we changed the names of things. Let's go to the beach today. So everyone will just go down to the creek and we'll just sit there and we'll just talk and just laugh. And then they had a basketball court. We'll go to the basketball, organize games, and then people will come and be like a tournament, and then we'll do and just make ourselves just live life, even though we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. And yeah, but Guinea was one of the toughest. And when you're a refugee, what people don't realize is that you pretty much don't have rights, I would say. Mm-hmm. You're just... So I'll give this example. In Guinea, you needed documents to go to the next town. And because we lived in the desert, we had to be able to go to the next bigger town to get a lot of the stuff that we need. So when I was working, and because I used to work for Save the Children USA, they had a car that will come between the camp and the big city. So we were fortunate enough to be able to get on their car, and they'll take us to the big city. We'll buy whatever we wanted to buy, and then we'll come back. One day we left the camp again with my friends, went to the city, slept in another friend's house because people had then gone on and started working. So people could afford like to leave the camp and go and live in the city. So we slept at another friend's house. And in the morning, we just hear a knock on the door, soldiers barging again with guns, like, oh, you guys are the rebels here. Put us in the truck. There's like 1, 2, 3 apartments on the same line, and all Liberians living in there. Arrest all 3 apartments, everyone, put us in a truck, take us to jail. And we end up in jail. What for? Oh, you guys are the rebels because you're Liberians. Like, because we're refugees, we get treated like nothing. And you can't say anything to the soldiers. They've got guns. You can't say, no, I'm from this place. But we were lucky enough, like we slept in jail. And that night we cried in that jail, like, why? Why should we keep on suffering like this? Why are we treated like pretty much animals and not humans? And all our stuff that we had bought got looted. Like everything got taken away. But we had neighbors in the environment, or people that saw what went on. They were like, no, we need to get together. So all the Liberians, like the news just spread around, and those Liberians just went to the police station and they were like, you got to let our people out. They're not rebels. They're young girls, young boys. They live on the refugee camp. They just came in the city to buy some stuff and to go back, and now you've arrested them, and now all their stuff is gone. What's going on? So it was like a protest. And then one of the big guys, I think it was the police director or someone, came in. So we had slept in that place and spent the whole day. And then in the evening, this person came, and he was really angry because, by the way he was talking, because I refused to like learn French. I just learned what could get me by. Just like what could get me by. But you could hear and you could see the look in his face. Like when he came in, so there were kids with us because there were mothers there. And he was just angry, and he tore through those guys. He was just so angry. And they let us out, took us to a place, put us in a truck, and took us back to the camp. So we just got scared. Pretty much, you're scared to even walk on the road. You're scared to go to the creek. I remember, like I told you before, we used to go to the creek and say we'll go to the beach. They'd be like, no, you guys need to be separated. Maybe you're planning something. So you're just like, you can't settle So you just live one day at a time pretty much and just praying and hoping that something happens for you to get out of that place.
So how did the opportunity to move from Guinea to Australia come about?
Guinea was another God move, another God thing, I would say. So while we were in Ivory Coast, my mum, some of her family that were in America that I mentioned earlier, tried to get us resettled to America. So they did all this paperwork and we had to fill out all these forms and then go for an interview at the embassy and all that. So when the war happened in Ivory Coast, we were told, like, you guys need to go to the next safe, closed country and you'll be taken from there to America. Because we had gone through like the medical, the immigration interview and everything, and we're just waiting to pretty much board a plane and go. So we left and we went to Guinea. But then the process, it had been like, I don't know how many years that we had been waiting for this program to go to America, maybe 5-6 years. And it's just year after year, you go and do one thing, and then another year you go and do one thing. Because you're a refugee, you're not paying for those things. It's just pretty much UN helping you get to those places. So you just had to wait. So we're sitting in the camp, not knowing what's going to happen, not hearing anything, no one saying anything. And when you go and to the big city, you make a phone call. It's like sometimes it's 1 second for like, I can't even convert the money now to like American dollars. And you can't even say what you want to say and they'll say, oh, your time is up. So you can't communicate to know exactly what's going on. So the women, because my mom used to be part of a women group, they just went together and said, look, we just have to pray about this thing. We can't just sit here, let our kids just go to waste. Even if we don't get a better life, our kids need to get a better life. And all the women got together and they started a fast and prayer. And in that fast and prayer, a lot of things were shown to the women in there. And people saw that people were going to like leave. I know some people don't believe in this stuff, but it's real stuff. Like people can see the future. And people saw that a lot of people were going to leave the camp, but they didn't know where they were going. But they just saw truckloads of people just leaving the camp. So they came out of there. It was a long time. I can't remember how long they're spending there, but it was a significant amount of time. And they came out and Mum was like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know that we're going to leave this place. And wherever it is at this point in time, I don't care. I just want somewhere where I can go and live in peace and get out of here. And then we just heard, because when something happens, it goes around like word of mouth. They go, oh, have you seen the UN board? Because they had like a notice board and they'll put everything on the notice board that was going on in the camp. Oh, have you seen the notice board? Oh, no. Oh, your name is on the board. Do you want to go check why your name is on the board? So we go, oh, Mom, yeah, your name is on the board. Your name is on the board. And then we get told that Australia has asked to take women and kids that are at risk into Australia. That's why our mom's name is on the board. So Mom was like, we're going wherever. And people got scared and people were saying, oh, my goodness, how can you go to a place you don't know anyone? They're going to take you to be slaves. You know, now people are just used to that mentality. Refugees are just refugees. We're just going to be treated however. And so people got scared. And my mom is a crazy woman, I'll say. By that point, she had taken on 3 other kids in the refugee camp. And she had those kids with her when that news broke out. And now she started to worry what she was going to do with those kids because their mom had passed away and their dad just left them. So Mum was like, how can I just leave them? So she had taken on those kids. And that was when Mum sort of hesitated for a moment. She was like, what am I going to do with them? But then again, Mom, being a woman of prayer, she just prayed and said, Lord, just lead me to do what I can do for them. And we went in for that interview and we took those kids and we just told the people this is what happened. They had been living with us for the last 2 years. We don't know what we're going to do with them. And they were included in our document. And after 6 months, after we had waited for 5 to 7 years to go to America, after 6 months, we got to Australia, 2005, 18th of January, on a charter flight. Everything paid for, into a strange land. We didn't know anyone. Yeah.
What was that day like?
Oh.
When you were getting onto the plane, what was that day like?
There was a lot of crying, because we were like the first group of refugees, 350 of us, to get on a bus to leave the camp and go to the big city. And then we left that big city and went to Conakry, which is the capital, and then got on a charter flight. People cried. There was singing, there was dancing, there was crying. It was like, oh, I can't tell you how it felt. Like I could not speak. My friends were standing at the bus and I was sitting in the bus and I could not speak. I was speechless. And I sat there. But then you have that thing at the back of your mind, maybe this is not even going to happen. We're going to get to the airport and there's going to be fighting and we'll have to come back. So you can't celebrate fully. You're still like holding back. And even when we got here, there was still that feeling that something could happen, something might happen. Yeah.
In a split second, your life can become completely unrecognizable. Liberia was a peaceful country. They were even going to win awards. But one fateful day, the unimaginable happened. War erupted. It is sad how we take peace for granted, how easily our leaders make decisions that can tip over into violence. In the blink of an eye, what was once a peaceful country then became ruins. How many cautionary tales do we need to tell before our leaders understand that we, the people they seek to lead, are the ones that suffer the most? We will pick up in part 2 what happens when Mehntay and her family arrived in Australia. Make sure you tune in. Please find Mehntay on social media at Biawo15 and tell her you heard her on the Africana Woman podcast. Thank you, dear listener, for making us part of your day by listening in. I truly appreciate you. If you liked this episode, please share it with a friend. And you can find me on Instagram at Chulu by Design and say hello. I always respond. Until next week, I want you to remember, know your roots, grow your purpose. This has been a production of Ulendo Creative Media. You can find out more about their services on www.ulendocreative.com.